Everyone is building artificial intelligence. Startups are launching models. Technology giants are building platforms. Investors are pouring billions into compute. New applications appear almost every day. From the outside, it looks like an enormous competition. Thousands of companies, thousands of products, thousands of ideas. But look deeper, because while everyone is competing at the visible layer, something else is happening underneath. The infrastructure is becoming concentrated, and when an entire industry depends on a small number of critical systems, the companies controlling those systems can possess something far more valuable than attention. They possess leverage.
A bottleneck is simple. It is the part of a system that limits everything around it. If thousands of companies need the same resource and only a few providers can supply it, the resource becomes strategically important. It does not matter how many companies exist at the surface. If they all depend on the same underlying layer, power begins to concentrate underneath them. This is one of the oldest principles in economics. Control the scarce input, and you can influence the system built on top of it.
Start with compute. Modern AI requires extraordinary amounts of computational power. That means advanced processors, specialized accelerators, semiconductor manufacturing, advanced packaging, and an enormous ecosystem of equipment and materials. The companies positioned at these critical layers do not need to build every AI application themselves. They can benefit from the demand created by everyone else. When the entire industry needs more compute, the infrastructure supplying that compute becomes strategically valuable. The product may be a chip, but the position is leverage.
Then there is the cloud. The cloud allows businesses to rent computing infrastructure instead of building everything themselves. It makes digital expansion faster. It makes software easier to deploy. And it has become one of the foundational layers of the modern economy. But that convenience creates dependency. A company may have thousands of customers and millions of users, yet still depend on infrastructure owned by someone else. The application may belong to one company, the underlying compute may belong to another. And that distinction matters, because the visible company is not always the company controlling the foundation.
Then comes connectivity. Data must move. AI systems must communicate. Cloud platforms must exchange information. Businesses must reach customers. And the infrastructure connecting all of this spans continents, fiber networks, data centers, internet exchanges, undersea cables. The system appears enormous and decentralized, but traffic often concentrates around critical routes and nodes. And when a pathway becomes difficult to replace, its strategic value increases. The network itself becomes a position of power.
And now we reach the layer most people overlook: energy. AI data centers consume electricity. More compute requires more infrastructure. More infrastructure requires more power. And power cannot simply appear when demand increases. It requires generation, transmission, grid capacity, land, construction, time. This creates another bottleneck. The AI industry can move at software speed, but the energy infrastructure supporting it moves at industrial speed. Whoever can secure reliable power at scale may gain an advantage that software alone cannot replicate. Put all of these layers together, and the architecture becomes visible. Applications sit on platforms. Platforms sit on cloud infrastructure. Cloud infrastructure depends on data centers. Data centers depend on networks and power. Networks depend on physical cables and exchanges. Chips depend on semiconductor manufacturing, and all of it depends on capital. This is not a collection of unrelated industries. It is a stack. Each layer supports the next, and the deeper the layer, the harder it can become to replace.
This does not mean innovation disappears. In fact, the opposite can happen. When infrastructure becomes available, thousands of entrepreneurs can build on top of it. Startups can launch faster. Developers can experiment faster. Businesses can reach global markets faster. But there is a hidden trade-off. The more convenient the infrastructure becomes, the more deeply businesses can depend on it. Innovation becomes distributed. Infrastructure can become concentrated. And that creates a strange economic structure. Thousands can compete at the top, while far fewer companies control the layers underneath. And this is the point most people miss. Monopoly does not always mean owning the entire market. Sometimes it means controlling a critical layer that everyone else needs. If customers cannot easily switch, if alternatives are limited, if rebuilding the infrastructure would require enormous capital, the position becomes powerful. The company controlling that layer gains negotiating power, pricing power, strategic influence, and sometimes the ability to shape what happens above it. The bottleneck becomes the leverage point. So who really owns the AI economy? The answer is more complicated than a list of famous AI companies, because the visible products are only the surface. Beneath them are chips, cloud platforms, data centers, networks, energy, semiconductor equipment, capital. Each layer contains its own dependencies, and each dependency can create leverage. That is why the most important company in a technology revolution may not always be the company everyone talks about. Sometimes it is the company operating the infrastructure everyone else needs. Follow the product and you see competition. Follow the infrastructure and you see concentration. Follow the bottleneck and you begin to see power. And that is the hidden architecture of the AI economy. ASUTSEN, architecting wealth, automating future.